I would hope that all members would like to hear his explanation for why Brookfield was accused of massively underreporting their emission.
The motion I have on notice I wanted to move today, that the committee invite Mark Carney to appear on economic, fiscal, monetary and tax policy for 4 hours no later than May 17th, 2024.
And I hope all members on this committee will support this common sense motion. All this motion does is express the will of the committee to hear from Mark Carney. He was invited to come after the fall economic update was tabled. He refused that invitation. We know it's not because he's shy. He's not a bashful man. He has no problem speaking to Liberal insiders in invitation-only events where he gives glimpses of his policy agenda, his extreme policy agenda. And all this motion is about accountability. If Mark Carney wants to replace Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister and leader of the Liberal Party, then he should have the courage to be held accountable. We know that he's got a lot to answer for, Mr. Chair. If you just look at a few of his greatest hits, he's an enthusiastic supporter of the carbon tax. I think this committee should hear his explanation as to why he supports a policy that drives up prices, that increases the cost of home heating, that forces vulnerable Canadians and seniors to choose between eating and heating. We'd like to know how high he would hike the carbon tax. We know the current Liberal plan is to quadruple it. Will that be enough for carbon tax, Carney? Will he want to push that carbon tax and those prices up even higher? We know that he has defended international organizations that put forward policies about having more and more government control over people's lives and more central planning over the economy. In an unbelievable display of hypocrisy, he cheered on this government's cancellation of Canadian energy projects, Canadian pipelines that would have brought Canadian jobs home here to Canada and given powerful paychecks to Canadian workers. He cheered on the government's cancellation of those job-creating and prosperity-creating projects. Yet, at the very same time, he oversaw, he's chair of asset management at Brookfield. Well, where does Brookfield invest some of those assets? Well, in a massive pipeline project and energy project in Abu Dhabi, on the other side of the world, creating jobs and paychecks for Canada's competitors. So he cheers on and advises his Liberal friends to cancel Canadian projects that would compete with those energy projects that his companies are invested in. He himself was personally found to have misled the public on Brookfield, the company he's a part of, over Brookfield's claim to be net zero. I would hope that all members would like to hear his explanation for why Brookfield was accused of massively underreporting their emissions in a scandal that hit all the papers covering business around the world. Brookfield as well was accused of using favorable tax policies in countries like Bermuda to avoid paying taxes here at home in Canada. We'd like to hear about what he has to say about that, and I would think that all members of all parties would want to hear the explanation for why Brookfield views it as acceptable to avoid paying taxes here at home, especially when we hold that up to the light of the job-killing policies that Mark Carney himself personally cheerleads for. So that's all that this is about, Mr. Chair. This is just about accountability. Mark Carney clearly wants to replace Justin Trudeau. He should have the courage to be held accountable for it. Canadians have a right to know what direction he would take this country in. I would hope my NDP colleagues would like to know who the replacement coalition partner and what the replacement coalition partner would do with policy in this country. So this motion is very common sense. It's about accountability. It's about transparency. It's about giving Mark Carney the opportunity to explain why he loves the carbon tax so much, how high he would drive it up. how many more energy projects he would kill. I mean, when we look around the world and we see countries coming to Canada begging for our LNG, our clean and ethical LNG, to displace dirty coal in other countries, and Mark Carney clearly likes to advocate for cancelling those projects here in Canada. We'd like to know why. Mark Carney has bragged about having access to Liberal cabinet ministers. He clearly has no problem giving his advice to them in secret, behind closed doors or over the phone. So we'd like to have him before committee, and he can tell Canadians and tell all parliamentarians what kind of advice he's given his Liberal friends to pursue their anti-energy and job-killing projects. So this is about asking Mark Carney to come, show the courage of his conviction, see if he can withstand the scrutiny and accountability that we ask all senior officials, and that we've given the opportunity for many witnesses to come and explain why they hold the views they have and what advice they give this Liberal government. There's nothing more, nothing less. It's just an accountability session for someone who aspires to take over the leadership of the Liberal Party and become the replacement coalition partner with the NDP Liberal government. So I strongly urge my colleagues from all sides of the House, from all political parties, to vote in favour of accountability and transparency, and invite Mark Carney to come and defend his positions.
Thank you.